Aurora, do you love me? He wrapped his arm around the woman in his lap and grinned at me. He tipped her chin up, kissed her loudly, then turned back. Be good and run out for condoms. The woman curled against my husband gave a sweet, poisonous laugh. Her stare was pure venom. But, cousin, if you insist on dumpster diving, don't come crying later. The ocean was ice. I waded deeper. His voice still rang in my ears. Aurora, if mom hadn't pitted you and dragged you home, you'd be nothing. Don't be ungrateful. Water climbed my ribs, crushing my lungs. My vision tunneled, breath came in desperate gulps. Suddenly Dad's voice cut through. Honey, I spun. Only blackness. A surge knocked me down, swallowed me into midnight blue silence. I let my eyes close and felt warmth bleed away. Dolores's sneer flashed, burden of a girl. Then the roar, you shame your parents. I opened my eyes. A man stood with his back to me, wringing seawater from clothes. He turned. Throwing your life away is the weakest move on earth. I jerked fully awake, my ears rang like sirens. Dad's voice again, our honey stays stubborn, stays fierce, no one messes with her. And if they try, Dad's right here. Above me the sky paled toward dawn. Right, Mom raised a willful little princess, not the cringing burden of a girl the Fulton estate trained. I tidied myself, drove home. Inside the foyer, stilettos lay tumbled like dice. Among them glared the scarlet-soled pair, gift I'd hinted at before our anniversary. I'd waited all day, then saw them on Brittany at Fulton Tech. I slammed the door. The crash cut short the bedroom acrobatics. He stalked out in a sheet, swearing. Aurora, psycho much? Way to kill the mood. A syrupy voice floated after him. President Fulton, who is it? He snorted, hooked an arm around Brittany's waist, and drawled, there, Aurora. He faced me, lip curled. Took you all night to buy condoms, useless. Where are they? No, are you okay? No, why are you soaked? I glanced down, pressed my lips, looked him dead on. Lost them. He sighed theatrically, smacked a kiss on Brittany. See? Our Tion thinks ahead, reward time. Brittany giggled up at him. President Fulton's unstoppable. We burned through everything I brought. I cut in, stomach churning. Blake, we need to talk. I held his gaze, measured and cold. Surprise flickered, he wasn't used to that tone. What? Brittany hugged his waist, pouted. Why can't I listen? I wanna hear. He tapped her nose. Sure. It's not like Aurora has anything important to say. I watched her triumph smirk and spoke. I want a divorce. He froze, then barked a laugh. Say that again? I glanced at Brittany, then back to him. This marriage is meaningless now. His face relaxed, he scoffed. Name your price. He fished his phone from crumpled pants, dialed. Divorce? Without me you're nothing. The call connected. Talk fast, I'll have Derek buy it. I enunciated every syllable. I want a divorce. He hurled the phone. Genteel mask gone, he seized my arm. Refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, Aurora. Who'd want a washed-up stray like you? His grip tightened, my fingers tingled. I wrenched free, livid prints bloomed on my skin. I laughed. Washed up how, exactly? He panted. Aurora. He loomed, chest heaving. Remember, my family took you in. If not for mom, if not for your mom, I cut in, still smiling, I'd have died on the street. Dolores found me on my birthday. After the crash, uncle seized everything, promised a celebration. I wore my best dress, waited at Seaside's gate until nightfall, sobbing in a snowstorm. She wrapped me in her coat and carried me to the Fulton estate. His face purpled. He raised his hand, froze mid-swing. I arched a brow. Going to hit me, Mr. Fulton? I yanked the door open. Derek stood outside, clutching a boutique bag. Aurora, Mr. Fulton asked for these. Inside, the scarlet-soled stilettos, lacquer reflecting my blank face. Aurora. He exploded. You dare divorce me? He strode out, rage stalling when he spotted Derek. Derek, head back. We're handling private matters. He peeked into the bag, smug understanding dawning. He shoved it at me. Here, your shoes. Quit the drama, the staff is watching. Under Derek's worried gaze I lifted one pump, studied it, laughed, soundless, weary. He honestly believes he's generous. I tossed the shoes at his feet. Moron. I brushed past, tucking loose hair behind my ear. As his roar chased me, I said over my shoulder, "That's that, Mr. Fulton. I'll have my lawyer courier the divorce papers, kindly find a moment to sign." 5 years married to him, I had accompanied him from nothing to the helm of a listed company, my shadow in every smoke-filled bar where investors nursed glasses. The seed money that became Fulton Tech came from me dragging him, door to door, to every venture capital shark in Newport Beach. Yet his mask lasted only a month after the IPO, 30 days of applause, then he ushered Brittany through the front gate of the Fulton estate. The next morning the phone shrieked. I answered in a daze and his roar drilled into my ear. "Aurora, where the hell are you?" I held the cell at arm's length, let him rant, then said, "Blake, I don't report my whereabouts to you anymore. After walking out yesterday, I'd moved into my beachside studio on the forgotten edge of town, cheap rent and a postage stamp balcony wide enough for my beloved easel. I'd painted since grade school. Professor Whitaker once said the gods themselves spoon-fed me color. Exhibiting under the name Luna Lark, I sold every dreamy canvas within hours. Then heaven cracked a joke. Speeding home for my birthday, Mom and Dad were T-boned by a jackknife truck. The asphalt glittered with baby's breath and crushed tubes of oil paint, the gift they'd chosen for Honey. He refused to ink the divorce papers. My attorney relayed the message, embarrassed. The only signature he'll give is if I walk away with nothing. Predictable. After all, Dolores had once rescued me because my designer jeans advertised a fat reward from grateful parents. I called Professor Whitaker, whom I hadn't seen in years. He sighed with pride. The new canvases I'd mailed hadn't disappointed. "Let's mount a gallery opening," he said. I asked him to take the reins and send the VIP passes himself. After Mom and Dad died, Uncle deliberately severed my contact with the professor. Later, when I mentioned painting to Dolores at the Fulton estate, she slapped me to the terracotta tiles. In front of gawking neighbors she jabbed a finger at my nose. "We feed an ungrateful wretch like you and you dare fantasize about wasting money on oil paints? Burden of a girl." The Luna Lark show lured collectors from every moneyed zip code. He appeared at my door waving a ticket, irritation bristling off him. "Aurora, are you done throwing your tantrum?" He lifted the glossy rectangle. "Didn't you beg to visit a gallery? Ever hear of Luna Lark?" Seeing my eyes snag on the pass, he flicked it with a smirk. "Fine, divorce is nothing. You hate Brittany? She won't cross the threshold again." I kept staring at the ticket, looking at his face churned my stomach. My fingers whitened on the door handle. "Blake, spend that energy on the divorce papers instead." The door shut. He lingered, curses building like a wave until neighbors peered out. Pride intact, he kicked my panel once, crushed the ticket in his fist and stalked away. His hair-trigger temper is pure victor. Contradict him and he'll torch every bridge in sight. On opening night I waited outside for Professor Whitaker. Brittany glided over in snow-white silk, pressed polished fingers to her lips and swept me head to toe. "Oh my, Aurora, hired as the greeter today? Beg and maybe I'll take you in as my +1. Each VIP pass entitled the holder to a guest. To be safe I'd mailed one to him and one to Brittany. I said nothing. Certain she'd scored a point, she sailed inside wearing victory-like perfume. When Professor Whitaker arrived we entered together. After introducing me to half the room he released me to the crowd, advising that I keep my identity secret until the finale and circulate as a mere buyer. I'd finished mentally pricing one canvas when I spun around and found Brittany inches away, eyes glittering with malice. "Aurora, stalking Blake so desperately you sneaked in?" Her stupidity still managed to shock me. I stepped past, she seized my wrist, checked the vicinity, then hissed into my ear. "Looks expensive, this painting, doesn't it?" A shriek tore from her throat as she lurched and flung her cocktail. I hesitated a beat, accepting the shower of vodka, but crimson drops still speckled the canvas behind me, Professor Whitaker's own award-winning piece on loan to add prestige. I apologized to the professor. Brittany was right, the painting was priceless. He brushed aside the damage, urging me to change clothes. Brittany's glance flicked between the elderly man and me, a knowing grin blooming. "So that's your backbone, Aurora? Found yourself a sugar patriarch?" She clicked her tongue. Though, goodness. Across the room his face had purpled, his lips shaped silent insults, eyes steeped in disgust. I laughed, really laughed, then sauntered off to change. Though Professor Whitaker had retired from the circuit decades ago, his name still thundered. Apparently his new money radar couldn't identify royalty. When I returned, Brittany was still shrieking, clutching the professor's lapel, demanding reimbursement for a droplet-stained skirt while Blake nodded, playing injured party. Fury and helplessness mottled the old man's cheeks. I lifted a full bottle from a passing tray, stepped to Brittany, and, under her triumphant stare, appended Cabernet over her head. She froze, then screamed like a klaxon. Wine rivers snaked through her salon-perfect hair, black mascara tributaries carving deltas down her cheeks. The white dress bloomed crimson roses. She was farce incarnate. "Aurora, have you lost your mind?" his bellow cracked across the marble. He hauled her against him, soothed her soggy hair, then pivoted to flame me with his glare. Watching him radiate hatred, I remembered investors humiliating me while he'd played the heartbroken spouse. "Aurora, I swear you'll never suffer again. I'll make you happy for life." That promise had not survived even a single orbit of the sun. Someone in the crowd recognized Blake and me. Their eyes locked on Blake and Brittany, wondering what drama was unfolding. "Blake, let's get divorced." Delight flitted across Brittany's face. Nestled in his arms, she smiled at me in triumph. He glared at me, clenched teeth bared, and snarled, "Aurora, you planned this from the start, didn't you? Without me, who would even know your name?" His sneering was cut short by Professor Whitaker. "Whose gallery opening do you think you're attending?" He froze, then snapped his head toward me. "Your Luna Lark?" When I stayed silent, he stammered, demanding why I'd hidden it. I didn't bother answering. I turned instead to apologize to the guests. I couldn't bear their stares. His face went white as he dragged Brittany out of the hall. A big investor had once adored Luna Lark's work, but by then her paintings had vanished from the market. I faked a month-long business trip, returned with a brand new Luna Lark canvas, and found a secretary named Brittany already inside Fulton Tech, glued to him. Only a handful of people knew Blake and I were married. Most employees believed we'd built Fulton Tech together as partners, never imagining I was also his wife. So the girls around me talked openly, speculating about him and Brittany right in front of me. When I confronted him, he swore the gossip was baseless, and to prove it, he transferred Brittany to another department. At first I managed to convince myself he was telling the truth, until rumor after rumor reached me, until explanation after identical explanation left his mouth, and finally, after I walked in on them tongue to tongue in the break room, my hope flatlined. News of Blake and Brittany crashing my gallery opening exploded online. The public tore into him for ditching the wife who'd stood by him since the beginning, the one crime affluent America can't stomach. Of course, my paid trolls helped fan those flames. He sat across from me, arms folded, sneering, "You got what you wanted, Aurora." His whole face blamed me. The divorce was my fault, entirely. And why not? Raised in a household dripping with machismo, he'd never been programmed to admit a mistake. In his mind, I hadn't been tolerant enough to coexist with Brittany. I hadn't been generous enough to hand over the company we'd built. Step by step we filed the papers. I refused his shares, demanding their cash value instead. He laughed at my short-sightedness, claiming I couldn't see Fulton Tech's glorious future, only immediate money. Watching that smug grin, I hoped he'd stay this arrogant forever. When I reached my gate that evening, I spotted a familiar figure. She spun around, eyes lighting up, then dropped to the pavement and wailed. Her cheeks were swollen, perfect fingerprints glowing red across them. Neighbors out for a stroll drifted over, and the woman ramped up the sobs. She cried that she'd treated Blake and me equally, cried that after raising us with all her heart, this was her reward. When the onlookers caught the name she kept screaming, the murmurs grew louder. Dolores pressed her hands to her face and held, but between her fingers her eyes glittered with glee. "That's his mother? Making a scene like trailer trash. Does she want to bury him? How dare she show up? She's the abuser." Each comment reached Dolores's ears. She whipped her hands down, planted them on her hips, and shrieked at the crowd, "Who are you calling trailer trash?" She spun and jabbed a finger at me. "This woman ruined my son and blackmailed him for a fortune." I studied her calmly. Time had erased every trace of the woman who once smiled and said she'd take me home. That woman had died long ago, smothered by domestic violence and greed. I spoke softly, "Aunt Dolores, the year you picked me up, didn't Uncle suddenly land a much better job?" Her rage froze. She hadn't expected me to drag up the past. I pressed on. "When you say you treated me the same as Blake, do you mean I only ever got what he threw away?" Panic flickered in her eyes. "As for college, didn't I pay my own tuition?" I smiled. "Oh, and his tuition too, right?" I'd recorded every dollar, every cent. The moment I overheard Dolores and Victor demand hush money from Uncle, they stopped being kind rescuers. For a while after they brought me to the Fulton estate, they really had acted like parents. But visit after visit to the police station yielded no one looking for me, and their patience wore thinner each day. When did their attitude flip completely? The night Uncle called. They thought I was asleep, but terror of being abandoned kept me wide-eyed. The cheap handset crackled so loudly I caught every word. Here's 200 grand, keep Aurora under your thumb. If she slips away, you'll face the consequences. Bullshit. Dolores howled, eyes bulging as she glared at me. Enough, his voice cracked behind me. He stepped forward, shot his mother a murderous look, glanced at me, then turned to apologize to the neighbors. Sorry for the disturbance. Without another word he yanked her away. Brittany was pregnant. She told me while I was packing up after a day-long gallery opening, patting a belly that didn't yet exist. Her eyes glowed with what people call maternal bliss, but when they met mine they shone with triumph. Blake and I are getting married. You should come, witness our happiness. My gaze drifted to her stomach. She instinctively shielded it, a flicker of panic crossing her face before she smiled again. I smiled back. I'll definitely prepare a grand gift. On wedding day, I arrived at the grand early, claiming a corner table to wait for the ceremony. The ballroom dripped luxury, far grander than anything at my own wedding. The minute we hit legal age, Blake hustled me to the courthouse, and I'd fantasized endlessly about a real ceremony. He wrapped an arm around me and promised, "Babe, I can't give you your dream wedding yet, but I'll make it up to you someday." I survived on that sugar-coated promise, until it starved me into the present. When every guest had settled, the MC announced the procession would begin, but the couple never appeared. A deafening crash erupted backstage, followed by a woman's scream. Guests leapt to their feet. I glanced back, unable to stop the grin blooming across my face. Brittany was an idiot, and her little boy toy even more so. A single anonymous VIP pass was all it took to bring him here. He dragged a struggling Brittany into the ballroom, gaze sweeping the crowd. I knew exactly who he was hunting. I deliberately knocked over my glass and ducked my head out of sight. Sure enough, Blake strode right past me, grabbed the guy by the collar, and snarled, "You dare touch my woman?" I quietly slid my chair back, surrendering the battleground. The two men crashed together in a brawl that yanked the cloth off the table, desserts, entrees, and all, leaving them streaked with chocolate mousse and beurre blanc. Brittany fluttered nearby, pleading, but when she reached in to separate them, a shove sent her sprawling against the upended table. She shrieked, clutching her belly in sudden pain. I watched the pool of red widen beneath her, blooming across the silk as she rolled, smearing herself with crimson frosting. He and the toy froze, then lunged for her at the same time. I couldn't hold back the laugh. His head snapped up at the sound. He stared at me, dead-eyed. "Those photos, was that you?" I smiled and nodded. "A wedding gift. Looks like you're enjoying it. Happy ever after." I turned to Brittany's parents and waved. "Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, long time no see." Their faces were the color of wet cement. Uncle Shaw's hand trembled so violently I feared the bones might crack. "Easy, Uncle. At your age a heart attack would be tragic. You still need to watch Brittany enjoy marital bliss, remember?" I stepped closer. "That day at Seaside, I know you slipped away on purpose." His eyes bulged, murky irises reflecting me like a funhouse mirror. "I also know you told the Fultons to lock me up." I leaned in until my breath brushed his ear. Brittany's face, your exact copy. Repulsive. You're both thieves, coveting what isn't yours. Brittany and his spectacle of a wedding became Newport's favorite joke. He divorced me for Brittany, only to be cuckolded by her before the cake was cut. The Fulton estate sued Brittany's parents for damages, turning the fiasco into a citywide telenovela. The Shaws paid dearly, 7 figures and a daughter left behind. I heard they relocated overnight, abandoning Brittany at the mansion gates. Riley slapped the cafe table, doubled over with laughter, shoulders shaking. Once, for his sake, I had pushed away this best friend. When she stormed out, I actually tried to explain that he was worth it. "Aurora," she wheezed, "karma's a bigger bitch than either of us." The next time I saw Brittany, I barely recognized her. The meticulous gloss was gone, hair frizzed from neglect, face stripped of its Instagram mask contour. A month had aged her a decade. She spotted me, eyes flaring with hope, and started forward, only to be yanked back by a claw-like hand. Dolores stood there, fingers digging half-moons into Brittany's arm, hooded eyes glittering with ancient fury. Following Brittany's gaze, she caught sight of me. Her glare could have flayed skin. Ungrateful wretch. Burden of a girl, she spat, though the insults were meant for me. Brittany whimpered about her treatment. Dolores answered with a crack across the face. You dare complain, whore. She dragged the sobbing girl away, nails still anchored in flesh. I filed the daytime drama away and forgot it, until Blake showed up under my condo awning that night. Post-divorce, every channel to me was blocked, so he'd come to lurk like a stray tomcat. I almost felt sorry watching him step into my path. Honestly, the whole family's been auditioning for reality TV today. Aurora, his voice softened, eyes pleading with counterfeit warmth. Before the bile could spill further, I cut in. Mr. Fulton, did we schedule a consultation? The rehearsed speech jammed in his throat. I rolled my eyes, sidestepped, and stayed just within camera range of the lobby CCTV. When he lunged, I swayed clear. That was when I noticed the creased shirt, the red roadmap eyes, the 2-day stubble, everything his vanity normally outlawed. Aurora, the books are cooked. His voice cracked. Come back, just this once. You only need to. I lifted a hand, retreating until my back kissed the marble wall beneath the lens. Let me guess, I just have to charm investors, clink glasses, and swallow my dignity again? Hope flickered, I crushed it. And why would I? Because you cheated? Because we signed divorce papers? My fingers found the magnetic latch behind me. I slipped inside and let the door hiss shut, then pressed my smile to the glass. Besides, I'm the one who mailed the ledgers to the feds. Shock detonated across his face, followed by primal rage, transformation in under 30 seconds. He hammered the pane until blood dotted the frosted glass, finally hurling a trash can that clanged off the frame. Security rushed in, Blake swung, knocking the guard down, and kept swinging until sirens replaced shouts. Even cuffed, he screamed through the windshield of the cruiser, Aurora, I will bury you. His empire didn't survive the audit. The anchor on the evening news recited the charges: tax evasion, bribery on municipal bids, while Fulton Tech's stock bled out on the ticker. Suddenly a woman barreled into the shot, yanking the reporter's sleeve. Aurora did this. My son never stole a cent, arrest her. Dolores collapsed on the courthouse steps, pounding the pavement. My poor boy, cursed by that witch. The reporter fled, the live feed cut to traffic. He had wanted a dynasty, but every cousin clamoring for a seat on the board cared only about the last scrap of dividend I'd left them. I had warned him. Victor rallied the clan to accuse me of a power grab, and, astonishingly, Blake believed them. When the colleagues I'd mentored began texting horror stories, I knew Fulton Tech's days were numbered. The day he was led away in cuffs, my phone lit up with celebratory emojis from inside the hollowed-out headquarters. His company couldn't outrun the subpoenas. My art, on the other hand, was just beginning to breathe. His parents came to my place raising hell every single day. After I called the cops a few times, they quieted down, but Dolores still kept vigil beneath my building. Riley worried about me, and when I refused to move, she showed up with suitcases and moved right in. I kept thinking it over, and I just can't relax unless I'm here with you. Fulton Tech was padlocked, and the Fultons scraped together every loose dollar just to plug the hole. Thanks to Dolores's daily sidewalk tears, I could track exactly how the disaster was unfolding. She poured out the injustice of fate to every passerby, wailing that the daughter they'd raised now cut them to the bone. At first a few people slowed to listen, but soon they stepped around her like she was air. Brittany was mortified. She hovered on the curb, trying to stay distant, only to have Dolores grab her by the hair and drag her back, igniting another wild tug-of-war for an audience. Finally, after I watched one of these hair-pulling scenes once too often, Brittany snapped. She wrenched free, shoved Dolores hard, spat on the sprawled woman, slammed past me, and ran. Dolores's eyes locked on me, her breath rasping, her face white. Victor hadn't shown his face since the day I dialed 911, probably too ashamed. Only Dolores persisted, staking the sidewalk below with Brittany in tow. When Riley came to pick me up and saw her crumpled there, she gasped, thumbed 911 for an ambulance, and tugged at my sleeve. Aurora, leave her. She'll sue you for every cent. Desperation flashed across Dolores's stare. I stood motionless, until the paramedics lifted her away. After the gallery opening, collectors who'd come for a look slapped down deposits on the spot. On Professor Whitaker's advice, I opened a studio of my own, and set to work on a competition piece. He walked into my loft studio, just as I placed the final touch of oil paint. Mom and Dad beamed up from the canvas. My eyes welled. I had been painting that family portrait the day their car was crushed, and when the news came I slashed the canvas, because every unfinished smile accused me, as though my hurry had steered them into the crash. I could finally honor the faces I still carry in my head. In the new painting they hold my hands and laugh. Baby's breath blooming like a cloud behind us. Aurora, looks like life's treating you well, came his low growl from behind. Every hair on my neck stood up. I spun around. He hadn't changed his clothes from that night. Sprung from jail and come straight here. I packed my brushes and turned to him. What do you want? He barked a laugh. What do I want? He snickered, then barked. Plenty. You ruined me. And you think you'll sail off into some perfect sunset? I flicked my gaze to the ceiling camera and fired back. Ruined you? Or did you do the wrecking yourself? His eyes glazed. He kept talking to the air. You set me up from that gala, humiliated me, divorced me, mailed me shots of Brittany cheating on my wedding day, drove me crazy. He pinned me with a stare. You flew the guy she slept with to the Grand, just to watch us fight, right? You always knew Fulton Tech's books were cooked, so you took only cash in the divorce, banking on the rest being looted by my own crew without telling me? Look, Aurora, step by step you torched my life, who else should I come for? The tirade was almost comic. I glanced at the camera again and answered, Blake, you're the one who slept with Brittany and paraded her under my roof, smashed your own wedding when you lost your temper, forced Fulton Tech into a family firm and packed it with every cousin you've got. Tell me, which part of that is my fault? His face twisted, a knife flashed from behind his back and he closed in. You reported me, got my company shuttered, and my mom had to borrow from sharks. My life is over, Aurora, so yours ends now. Die. I sidestepped the blade, snatched the still life vase, and cracked it across his skull. He froze, then crashed face first to the concrete. I planted my foot between his shoulders and smiled down at his thrashing body. Too long in lockup, Mr. Fulton, brains must have gone soft. Did you really think I'd come unprepared? Riley pushed in with 2 patrol officers, rushed over, and hugged me tight, trembling. Aurora, you scared me to death. I'd known he would hunt me the moment bail was refused. I had texted Riley in advance, and I had tapped my smartwatch the second he appeared. Once she nudged the lobby camera, our prearranged message received, I began needling him on purpose. Every lunge was caught in HD. When the cops cuffed him I handed over the clip and said, Blake, right to this very minute, you're still the author of your own downfall, charged with attempted aggravated assault. He was hauled back to jail, this time with no rich parents to post bond. Word is the second he stepped outside on release day a loan shark crew dragged him away. Nobody's heard a whisper since. Victor vanished after Brittany shoved Dolores and landed her in neuro ICU. Brittany herself now wears orange for aggravated battery, while Dolores, her head smacked against the curb, suffered a brain bleed. They got her to surgery fast, but the damage left its mark. Watching the woman in the hospital bed blink at me in innocent curiosity, the doctor beside me sighed. She woke up like this. No next of kin, admin begged us to call you. The woman seized my hand and whispered, Sweetie, all alone? Come home with Auntie. I signed her out, found a quiet place at sunset, and tucked her in. My painting took the Silver Chalice Award. I polished the trophy until it gleamed, and set it beside the portrait of Mom and Dad. My phone buzzed insistently. Riley's bright voice burst through. Aurora, hurry up. I'm right outside. I laughed and told her I was coming. I stepped out, looked up at her waving silhouette, and, I swear, life had never looked this wide open. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.